Hello and welcome to the NewWorldReview, your source for everything anime and manga, and more specifically, welcome to Hunter x Hunter 101, the series that breaks down everyone and everything in the Hunter x Hunter world. And today we are going to be examining the most prolific organization within the entire series, as well as its namesake, being the Hunter Association. The Hunter Association is a global third-party organization designed to cultivate world-class talent in almost every area imaginable, and focus it towards solving various problems, achieving certain goals, or in some cases, even mobilizing offensive and defensive operations on behalf of very, very wealthy clients. The association itself is located in Swadani City, although it has never been confirmed exactly where in the world this is. In fact, I can't even give you so much as a continent. It's just another one of those miscellaneous metropolises. But as such, a hunter generally has the choice to either take jobs issued to the association by the aforementioned wealthy clients, or simply use their status within the association to pursue their own personal objectives. So for example, if you were a hunter, then your personal objective would be to subscribe to the NewWorldReview for regular Hunter content uploaded straight into your YouTube feed, which I think we both know would be pretty damn awesome. But before we go too much further, I actually think it is important to briefly dwell on the question of what exactly is a hunter, and I have made a whole video regarding this, so please do feel free to watch that. But despite their prominence in the series, this profession is rarely explored, primarily because we see most of the series through the eyes of Gon and Killua, neither of which particularly pursue the profession of hunter, despite being licensed to do so. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that they are hunting Jing, but that is beside the point. Hunter is actually quite a broad and vague term in this world, and it can encompass effectively any top-tier profession that one can think of. So of course we have basic forms of hunting such as treasure hunting or wild game hunting, the wild game in this world sometimes being extraordinarily magical beasts, but what it means to be a hunter is almost entirely up to the individual in question. So to illustrate, a classic definition would be someone like Bisky, who is a treasure hunter, but expanding a bit further we can also look at Mizaistom, who is a crime hunter, and that basically means that he is a glorified global detective. But what a hunter is can also delve into the abstract when we encounter individuals like, say, Cutie Beauty, who is referred to as a cute hunter and whose purpose is to solely maintain the beauty of others. And this can be applied to quite literally any profession. So for example, if I were to somehow pass the hunter exam, then I would probably label myself as a YouTube hunter, which basically would mean that I pursue this platform, only with all of the resources of the Hunter Association available to me, which, you know, that would be nice. And as such, there is an incredibly huge breadth of different types of hunters, so many so that that's the reason why I made a whole video on them. But it is important to understand that as far as the association goes, this is essentially an organization of world-class professionals who, in an ideal world, come together to mutually assist the goals of one another, although the large majority of hunters do still operate alone. And as such, it is actually entirely possible and common for hunters to become licensed and then just completely ignore the actual association. However, despite this grand freedom, there are still a collective of strict rules that all hunters must obey, decreed by the association, which are known as the Hunter Bylaws. And these bylaws are a set of 10 rules, almost a form of 10 commandments, and very much acts as the glue that prevents the association from descending into pure anarchy. And the first bylaw is simply that hunters must always be on the hunt for something, which I imagine is implemented to stop hunters from passing the exam, acquiring large amounts of wealth, and just retiring with no further impact on the world. Although to be perfectly honest, I really don't see how this particular bylaw would be strictly enforced, especially when the definition of a hunter is just so vague. I mean, even in my aforementioned example of retirement, I could just claim to be a leisure hunter or something, constantly in pursuit of the greatest pleasures that life has to offer with minimal effort required. And I really don't see the association questioning that. The next bylaw is a bit more restrictive though, being that hunters must have a minimal understanding of martial arts. This includes learning Nen, which makes sense because Nen in the Hunter world is a global standard of talent, even if a Nen user is unaware that they are invoking it, like Komugi for example. Next up, once a hunter is licensed, that license cannot be revoked for any reason. And on the flip side, a license will not be reissued for any reason. And the only reason why I would come to question this has to do with the next bylaw, which is that hunters shall not target other hunters unless they commit heinous crimes. So basically, a hunter that commits crimes won't have their license revoked. However, it will make them free game to any other hunter who so desired to track them down. And I imagine that a good example of someone like this would be, say, Ilumi Zoldyck, who is a licensed hunter who has caused incredible amounts of civilian casualties during the Chairman election arc. Or actually, an even better example would be Shalnok from the Phantom Troop, who is both a hunter and has a Class A bounty. And those really are the most necessary rules to be aware of. And the next 6 pretty much just dive balls deep into administration, but we'll go through them nonetheless because it does greatly impact our understanding of the association as a whole. So next rule, 1 star is given to a hunter who produces remarkable achievements in a particular field. 2 stars are given to a hunter who fulfills the 5 articles, which is basically referring to the 5 previous rules that we've explored, holds an official position, and has mentored a junior hunter who is awarded a star. 3 stars given to a hunter who fulfills the 6 articles, aka the 6 prior rules we've explored, and produces remarkable achievements in multiple fields. The chief executive of the Hunter Association must earn the confidence of a majority of his colleagues. When the position of chairman is vacated, the vote to elect the next chairman must be conducted at once, and deputy power is given to the vice chairman in the meantime. The authority to decide on a method to select new members is given to the chairman. However, to significantly change existing methods requires the confidence of a majority of colleagues, which I suppose means holding a referendum, which all members of the association can participate in. And finally, any matter not mentioned here will be decided in a cabinet consisting of the chairman, vice chairman, and staff advisors. The chairman has the authority to select a vice chairman and staff. And alright, cool, that's a lot of rules there, many of which are only relevant to one particular arc in the series, but they are very important as we now move on to examine the hierarchy of the association. And at the very pinnacle, we have the chairman, who for most of the series was Isaac Netero. The chairman possesses overwhelming power and influence within the organization, with no effective checks or balances on said influence and the direction in which they wish to take the organization. So obviously, as you can tell from that, the decision to elect a chairman is absolutely paramount, because if the wrong person were to be installed, then it could have incredible ramifications on not just the association, but actually the entirety of the human world. And just on that, I would very much argue that much of the way we see the Hunt Hunter world can be attributed directly to Chairman Netero, whose leadership was highly focused on fostering the strong whilst ignoring the weak, a trend that you can see almost everywhere in the series. But thus far, Hunt Hunter has known 3 association chairmen, one of which was obviously Netero, who was the 12th chairman, but also Pariston Hill was the chairman for all of like 2 seconds, and most currently we have 14th chairman Cheadle Yorkshire in charge. And within the association there is also a vice chairman position, an individual who is granted almost as much control as the chairman themselves. However, they mainly exist to serve as backup in the event that the chairman becomes incapacitated or the position otherwise deemed vacant. In that case, the vice chairman serves as an interim. However, they are not instantly promoted, and an election must take place within the association to decide who will permanently fill the position. However, in regards to the vice chairman, no election is necessary, and that position is filled entirely at the discretion of the chairman. And in the series, Pariston Hill would be the most famous vice chairman, although Cheetah was also vice chairman during Pariston's 2-second chairmanship venture. But very interestingly, it's currently unknown if the association actually has a vice chairman, which is kind of odd to think about because plenty of time has passed, and Cheadle seems like a fairly strict administrative law and order type, but there you go. In addition to these roles of leadership though, there does also exist an extended pool of staff advisors who were assembled by the former Chairman Netero and known as the Zodiacs. This group comprises 12 individuals who have had their skills recognized by the chairman and are employed to act as direct counselors, as well as, in the case of Netero, sparring partners. With that said, this group is fairly disorganized due to Netero's eclectic taste in individuals, and they don't function very well as a cohesive unit, having split into various sub-factions between them. However, the Zodiacs do contain some of the most renowned and powerful hunters in the world. And now I would also be quite remiss not to mention Beans, a fascinating existence whose humanity has neither been confirmed nor denied. However, he does act as the chairman's personal secretary, and has now, I suppose, technically served under at least 3 different chairmen. But Beans is probably the epitome of loyalty within the Hunter Association, and has always acted with the best interests of the organization in mind. Something that I'm not sure we can say about literally any other character. Now, stepping further down into the day-to-day running of the association, there have been 4 widely identified branches of operations that exist within this extensive organization. The most prominent of which would be the Exam Commission, a task force entrusted with the management of the annual Hunter exam. And this includes structuring the format of the exam as well as nominating examiners, both of which do change quite radically from one year to the next. The examiners must of course all be hunters, and very notably, they are not paid for their role as examiners. Although to be fair, money is really no object to qualified hunters. In fact, of the top 100 richest people in the Hunt Hunter world, 60 of them are hunters. But in addition to this, there are also an incredible slew of associates to the exam committee, many of whom are designated with the role of pre-examiners, who are charged with weeding out those who are completely unfit to even take the Hunter exam. And examples of individuals like this would be the very vaguely named Captain or the Quiz Lady. The one constant with the exam committee though is that the chairman of the association also acts as the head of the exam commission. Now next up we have the review board, which is a fairly mysterious group actually, who manage assignments and delegate client requests to hunters within the association. However, what's really fascinating about the review board is that they seem to exist on a higher plane of power than even that of the chairman, as Netero has stated that even he was unable to deny their decision once made. So they seem to represent an entirely new plane of power altogether, but rather sadly we are currently unaware of even a single character who comprises a member of this board. Moving on though, from time to time a temporary operation cohort is formed known as the Election Task Force, which is only really relevant when it comes time to fill the chairman position, which doesn't happen often. And of course its purpose is to ensure the smooth running of democracy within the association, as well as defining the structure of the election itself. And leadership of this council in the series was actually especially given to beans, with the Zodiac members also acting as advisors and implementers. And finally, we have the Disciplinary Committee, a group whose purpose has not been solidly defined, but one could make the assumption that they exist to ensure order within the association. Although, as I've said before, exactly how this is possible is kind of unknown, mainly due to the large degree of freedom and immunity that hunters are granted in general. But we do have at least one example of a member of the Disciplinary Committee who would be a man by the name of Bushidora Ambitious, although rather unfortunately he was promptly murdered by Hisoka during the chairman election arc. But apart from that, the only formal hierarchy that still remains to be explored is the star system, which we briefly covered in the Hunter bylaws, which does go on to state their requirements. However, for particularly accomplished hunters, they are awarded with a star rating from 1 to 3, with 3 obviously being the highest. And in fact, in the series, we currently only know of 3 characters who have achieved this, being Cheadle, Pariston, and another Zodiac member being botted by Gigante. So in essence, this organization is still quite the mysterious entity, despite the focus given to it in the series during the latter arcs. It still raises a lot of questions in terms of how the association is funded, given that they are a completely independent organization. Like, for example, do various countries of the world, perhaps the V6, each pay into it in exchange for having access to specialty hunters, or is this a completely privately funded endeavor? Who knows, maybe it even operates as a phantom nation and it taxes its hunters, but I kind of doubt that. In any case, it mainly forms a background feature of the series anyway, a rough framework to set against the adventures of our main protagonists, although the association itself is quite fascinating, and I do hope that we continue to learn more about it in the future. But what do you guys think? Please do leave your thoughts in the comments below, or even join my Discord server. And if you're keen for some more Hunt Hunter content, then please do feel free to check out some of my other videos, or even subscribe to the channel for regular Hunt Hunter glory delivered straight into your YouTube feed. But for now, this has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.